Hey everybody, welcome to Brain Activity Absent, Kent with Bent 143. I'm here with Bent Hovind, no relation. Bent, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Doing alright. I got myself some shock top. Always nice. A good solid go-to.
I have a glass of Baja Blast,
Nice.
also good.
Alright. And of course we got Kent Hovind here, but we'll get to him in just a little bit. Um, First I want to say hey to everybody. So, if you're new here and you don't know what Kent with Bent is, first, welcome. I'm glad that you were willing to jump in on an episode with a number like 143. But here's the thing, right? You don't really need to watch them in any particular order because Kent's Hovind Stupid is just timeless and unordered and chaotic. Jillian the Chromosome Wren, who's been a member for 17 months and is at the annual level, says the Mount St. Helens Creation Center recycles at least one Kent Hovind talking point. Gods have mercy on us all with a Mothra, and so we will take a drink for that Mothra. The Design Proponentist, who's been a member for 27 months and is at the annual level, says, that intro made me feel like the Avengers premiere all over again. Roshna Autocatalytic Keller, who's been a member for 11 months and is at the Tetrapod level, says, yay for Baja Blast with an explosion emoji. Alright, so yeah, in case you guys don't know, there's stuff happening over on my second channel, and that's what that countdown timer was for. So, tomorrow is going to be the last episode of Power Rangers Jungle Beasts, over at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, over on Top Hats Off. And then there will be a bit of a hiatus from live-streamed tabletop RPG stuff, but then we'll be starting up with a original series era Star Trek Adventures game, with the full crew to be announced later. So, there you go. That's why I made those intro stuff. So, Kent, are you ready to get into the drinking rules for Kent with Bent?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, for those of you who may not know, we do this as a bit of a drinking game. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek, you know. I take some, gulps of beer, Bent drinks some Baja Blast. If you want to play along, you do not have to play along with alcohol. You can play along with water, juice, soda, tea, coffee, your vape pen. I don't really care, right? It's just for fun. You don't have to play along at all if you don't want to. If you do play along and you decide to use something intoxicating, that's okay, but just be careful. Don't drive a car. Don't operate heavy machinery. Don't fly a plane. Don't text your ex. We here at the Dapper Dinosaur channel, as well as, just me and Bent personally, we accept neither responsibility nor liability for anything that you do as a result of playing along. We also have from Fearmonger, Master of Science, who's been a member for 21 months, is at the Tetrapod level, says, Kieneska Viscala till AIG's Scar, which I think is Swedish for something like AIG is a bag of dicks, so I'm going to take a drink, because there's also a drink emoji. That being said, you guys have already seen two of the drink triggers. One is that if you super chat or membership milestone chat, anything to the effect that AIG are a bag of dicks, we will take a drink. We'll also take a drink if you use any of the kaiju emojis that we have for channel members. That includes Mothra, Godzilla, and King Ghidorah. You do have to be a channel member to use those. If you're currently not a channel member, but you're interested, right below this video, there should be a join button. It will allow you to join the memberships. So, there you go, there's that. We will also take a drink. Oh, wait, hold on. Too Young to Feel Us Old, who's been a member for 24 months, and is at the Sauropsid level, which, thank you very much, says, happy 2 years, drink. AIG is a bag of dicks, and 3 pelagic tunicates, which is just... yeah. I'll drink, though. It's like you were going strong, but then you added in the pelagic tunicates, and it kind of ruined it, but...
Way to go.
It's terrible. Anyway. Okay, so, we will take a drink. If Kent Hovind says something that's so stupid, we kind of have to in order to cool our brains down a little bit, we get some brain coolant going. We'll just take a drink. If Kent Hovind says something that is actually factually accurate, and he's not just quoting it from someone else, right? So if he actually gets a statement of fact correct, and it comes from his brain, and he speaks it out of his own vocal apparatus, take a drink. We'll also take a drink if Kent Hovind tells a story that didn't happen or a joke that didn't land. So, for example, if he tells a story about how he won a fight with not a fight, but a quote-unquote debate with a Berkeley professor on an airplane, and it sounds much more like a argument he won with his shampoo bottle one day, yeah, we're going to take a drink for that. We will also take a drink if Kent Hovind mentions that political party from Germany from like the 1930s and 40s that I was going to say no one likes, but apparently increasing portions of the U.S. population don't seem to share that opinion, which is weird, but okay. I don't like him, so we're going to take a drink if he mentions that. Now, notice it is not if he does a Godwin's Law. Godwin's Law involves comparing your interlocutor to that members of that party. He just has to mention them, and we take a drink, because he loves to mention them. We will also take a drink if Kent Hovind cites a source, and then we check the source, and not only does the source fail to confirm what he's saying, if it actively contradicts him, we take a drink. We will also take a drink if Kent Hovind confuses what we can know from just the skeleton Lucy with what we know about any larger taxon to which she belongs, whether it be her species, her genus, family, whatever. So, for instance, if he's like, well, we don't know if Australopithecus had an inline big toe, because Lucy didn't have any toe bones. One, she did have a toe bone, but that doesn't matter. And two, yeah, other Australopithecus feet have been found, and yeah, they had inline big toes. So, there you go. That's called ad hominid. The source one is called a Trojan source. Also, if Bent or I can predict what's coming next, when it's not very clear, we will take a drink for a confirmed prediction. Also, if anyone gifts memberships to the channel, we will take a drink for each membership that is gifted. And what have I forgotten, Bent?
Dapper is a professional.
Dapper is a professional, that's right. If I screw up the production of this in some way, then I will take a drink. Now, if it is a technical difficulty, like a program crashes, the internet connection goes down, something like that, that is not Dapper is a professional. That is not a mistake. That is just a thing that happened. It has to actually be me screwing it up. But don't worry, I screw things up. DM Jurassic Park was a documentary wing who's been a member for 26 months and is at the amniote level. Says Godzilla, Mothra, Ghidorah, AIG's a bag of dicks, drink, get bent, Kent, liar, triangle meme, and then 5 turtles, and we will take a drink for that. All right. So I think it is time to get into this. Oh, but wait, why do you look so fancy today?
Oh, because I'm wearing this wonderful pink tutu.
Nice. And what if people wanted to make you wear a tutu on the next Kent with Bent?
Oh, they just have to donate a lot of money.
Okay. Like
to the channel.
Get it to 100%?
To reach, the goal, the 100% goal.
Okay. Well, here we go. Here is Kent. Now, what he was just telling us was that because some guy had said that evolution was believed for no particularly good reason, that means that one day everyone is going to laugh at the evolutionists. I don't know how he comes to that conclusion. Like we said last time, quote mining is the refuge of those who just don't have any argument. So, yeah. Anyway, here we go.
But in the meantime, it accomplishes the goal of keeping them from Christ, or if they're Christians, of keeping them from being bold Christians, because
Pence, I gotta ask you a question.
Okay.
In your opinion, is evolution, as it's understood by modern science, true in a broad sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
If you had to describe your religious affiliation with one word, what would it be?
Christian.
Okay. Just making sure. Because it seems like if the goal of evolution is to get people to stop being Christians, it's doing a really piss poor job.
Yeah, it didn't work on me, but I still believe in evolution anyway, so now what, Kent?
Weird.
Am I not bold enough?
Maybe that's it. I mean, when was the last time you harassed people in the streets about Christianity?
I don't know if I've ever harassed anyone about Christianity.
Well, then
I've spoken to people about it, but
you're clearly not bold enough.
It's so...
Man, if you're not getting like constantly arrested by police for harassing people and disturbing the peace, clearly you're not.
Which is what the people want. They want to be harassed into believing something.
Right, exactly.
That's how you convince people, by yelling at them over and over until
you
they
get
finally
it.
believe you. Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
I got all these questions. You were saying how you were taught this stuff in school. I'm telling you, it'll destroy your faith. If you're already saved, it'll neutralize you.
Bent, you've been neutralized.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't know either.
I can't define your terms.
But you've been neutralized.
If you're not saved, it'll probably keep you from getting saved. That's exactly what Satan wants. He's a liar. He doesn't care how he gets it done. Just get the job done. This man said, scientists who go about teaching that evolution is a fact.
Savage, soft tissue, banana flavored cobra. for $5. It says AIG is a bag of things kicked against in Acts 26:14 in Kent's preferred version. Ooh. I don't know what that one is. Someone should look that up for me real quick. While I take a drink. Roachna Autocatalytic Editor for $1.99 says, are you a bold Christian or an oblique Christian? Ooh. Or maybe a subtle Christian.
I'm an underlined Christian.
Okay.
Fact of life are great con men. The story they are teaching may be the greatest hoax ever. In explaining evolution, we do not have one iota of fact.
Dr. T.N. Thomasian, Atomic Energy Commission, USA.
All those atomic energy experts on evolution, huh?
Yeah, it's just like, come on, Ken. Like, not only are you quote mining people, you're quote mining people who have no expertise in the field. Like, it's hard to imagine how much lazier Kent could possibly be with this. But, okay. Oh, and for $2, Rael Gatubello says, Rapunz... I don't know what language we're going for. It looks... Lithuanian? Rapunzna... Yenez? The Sakwa? Yenez? I don't know. I don't know what language we're going for, but I'm pretty sure I know what it means. Because it looks like it's a Romance language, and generally speaking, if it looks like it's probably a Romance language, then there's a pretty good chance I'm going to be able to read it. So take a drink. Not pronounce it, mind you, but get the gist of what's being said. There's a big difference. If you ask me to read it out loud, it will sound like crap. Haitian Creole! Okay. Alright, so... Genez is probably more accurate than Genez or Yenez, because Haitian Creole is largely based on French. Okay. Cool. I do not know any Haitian Creole. Let's see. Didn't my sister pick up a few bits of Haitian Creole at some point? I think she might have. I don't know.
He's debating Pigliucci at the University of Knoxville, Tennessee. He's a botany professor. He spent 30 years teaching evolution of plants. He's been teaching it for 30 years. He's received $655,000 grant money to study the evolution of plants.
Oh, okay. So apparently that verse from earlier, Acts 26:14, and saying in the Hebrew tongue, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It is harder for thee to kick against the pricks. Thank you, Jillian Wren. That's a pretty good verse, actually. I like it.
I said, Dr. Pigliucci, what is your best evidence for evolution? He said, the fossil evidence of whales.
It's not what I would have chosen, but I mean, it's pretty compelling in my opinion, so okay. Yeah, it's fair enough, I guess.
Now, hold it. How come your best evidence you have is in somebody else's field?
Because that's his opinion. I don't know what Kent wants
still
from
the
this.
field of biology. Kent's the one who's taking atomic energy so-called experts,
Right?
and caring about their opinion on evolution.
And another thing is just like the fact that your specialty isn't the strongest evidence for some overarching field or theory in your field. Like, so what? Like, if you ask like someone who's like, well, what I do is I actually study the stellar spectra of red dwarf stars and looking for stellar quakes on their surfaces, as can be seen in slight wobbling of their Doppler shift. You're like, oh yeah, well, what's your best evidence for the Big Bang? And if that guy comes back and says, well, I don't know, the cosmic microwave background radiation, and then you say, well, why isn't it something to do with red star solar quakes? I don't know how to answer you with that, like, because that's not where it is. I don't know. What do you want from me? But I don't get what the point of this criticism is. I'm taking a drink because I can't. Why isn't it plant evolution? I don't know, Kent, because it's not. Do you think that every evolutionist should only study whale evolution if that's the best evidence for evolution? You think no one else should study anything else? Like, oh, you want to study the evolution of horseshoe crabs? No. Whales. Oh, you want to study plants and how their stomata open in different environments? No. Whales. I guess the mom from Seventh Heaven was the only real evolutionary biologist because she was a cetacean biologist in Star Trek 4.
It's true, she was.
Yeah.
And a good one, too.
Yeah. Well, she was the only one by the end. Which was a weird line because they actually only established that humpback whales had gone extinct and not all cetaceans. So unless all cetaceans went extinct, that doesn't make any sense. But we also know that later on in Star Trek, there were other cetaceans that Kirk and crew didn't go back in time to get, like beluga whales and bottlenose dolphins, because the Enterprise D had bottlenose dolphins and the Cerritos had beluga whales. So, like, clearly there had to still be cetaceans. So I think she was just wrong. So take that, Dr. What's-her-face? I don't remember her name. If anyone remembers the name of the cetacean biologist from Star Trek 4, let me know. Or just look it up, I don't care. Dr. something.
I don't think he'll ever catch on to that, but, I mean, that ought to dawn on somebody, like...
What? That the best evidence has to be somewhere in botany? That's not true, Kent. Plus, you asked him what his opinion was. If you ask other people, they'll give you different opinions. I personally think that genetics is probably a stronger point of evidence in favor of common ancestry and evolution broadly. But whatever. It's subjective. It's like asking, hey, what's the most convincing argument to you? That doesn't have to be the same for everyone.
He thinks the paleontologists have the evidence. Now, if you ask a paleontologist, what's your best evidence of evolution? Oh, the evolution of plants. We've got it proven in the botany department. Okay.
I've literally never heard
Who said that, Ken?
a vertebrate paleontologist. Yeah, that's a story that didn't happen. I'm just taking a drink.
That's a lie. He's lying.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone say that the evolution of plants, just as a thing, is the best evidence for evolution. Like as in fossil plants, because we do have transitional fossil plants. As in, like, genetics, because in that case, I mean, the evidence isn't any better from plants than it is from, say, animals. Gillian Taylor, Dr. Gillian Taylor, says Gillian Wren. Awesome. I believe you. The only cetacean biologist in the 23rd century, somehow, even though the 23rd century has other cetaceans that aren't humpback whales.
Okay. It's one of those shell games. Yeah, nobody has the evidence, okay?
No, Ken, even if you're right, all you're doing is asking different people what, in their opinion, is the best evidence for some idea. That doesn't mean anything. If I asked 50 different Christians what the best reason to be a Christian is, I expect to probably get about 50 different answers. That has no bearing on whether or not Christianity is a good thing or a thing to be or true or whether I should be a Christian.
Ask what the best Bible verse is.
Yeah, that's another thing that's going to get a lot of different answers. Writers Cornelius Hunter, the Count of Snoozeville, who's been a member for 6 months, says the only fields a creationists actually care about are the rows and rows of of AIGs waiting to be plucked and harvested. You know what? I'll take a drink. I don't care. Here we go.
There isn't any. Pierre de Chardin was a Catholic priest.
Chardin, but okay. Pierre de Chardin. But you know what? I don't think Kent knows French. So we'll let him say Chardin or whatever it was he said. Next, Kent is going to go play some chopping on the piano.
Kind of a renegade Catholic priest. He is one of the fellas involved in the Piltdown hoax.
Allegedly. We don't actually know who did the Piltdown hoax for certain. So, like, then again, it's not like, Pierre's going to come and sue us. So, I guess it doesn't matter too much.
He may have been the guy who did it. We don't know, okay?
You know
Pierre
what?
de
Fair,
Chardin has a very shady history.
Take a drink. We don't know.
He is probably one of the primary fellas, if not the primary fella, responsible for getting the Catholics to accept evolution. 3 different...
I mean, they don't all accept evolution. The actual stance of the Catholic Church is that it is not in conflict with the theology of the Catholic Church to accept evolution, and therefore it is a matter of conscience for Catholics. So Catholics can choose to accept evolution or not. Now, most of them do seem to have chosen to accept evolution, including at least several recent popes. So, you're not required to be basically, you're not required to be right about biology in order to be a Catholic. There you go.
times, popes have come out and said evolution fits our religion just fine, except for when God gave them a soul. Basically like Hugh Ross teaches, okay? Yeah, Hugh Ross gets along great with the Catholics as far as their doctrine of, evolution blending in with creation.
Does he like have a vendetta against Hugh Ross or something? Like, why is Hugh Ross even coming
He
up?
probably does.
Yeah, he probably does. Hugh Ross is a weird one. Because he's an astronomer and astrophysicist, and he knows that the universe is, almost 14 billion years old. And he's familiar enough with that he's like, okay, well then the Earth is probably itself, 4.5 billion or so years old. But then once you get into biology, like his critical thinking and his ability to look at evidence just kind of flies out the window. Christopher Kenneth Atheist, who's been a member for 18 months and is at the amniote level, says Kent Hovind, le grand boudin veut entre dans un sac rempli de coke. And an AIG's bag of dicks, so I will take a drink. Alright.
Pierre de Chardin said, evolution is a general postulate.
Yeah, Caden Slinker says the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints doesn't have an official stance on the theory of evolution. As far as I know, most of the largest churches in the world don't. The Catholic Church is just like, no, it's fine. The next biggest church, I believe, is the Eastern Orthodox Church, and as far as I know, well, first, it's not clear who would make an official statement if they had one, because they don't have a pope that you can just be like, hey, what's the official position? But as far as I know, like, no patriarchs or anything like that have ever come out and said, like, no, you have to either believe or not believe evolution. There are a fair few people in the church, both churches, who don't accept evolution. But yeah, Latter-day Saints don't seem to. Most of the European churches, especially the ones that, are still mainly based in Europe, either don't have a position or have said, no, it's fine. Yeah.
To which all theories, all hypotheses, must henceforth bow in order to be thinkable and true. Evolution is a light which illuminates all facts, which all lines of thought must follow. This is what evolution is.
I like how the reference here is Heredity de Jardin, as quoted by F.J. Ayala, Journal of Heredity. Was it issue 68, pages 3 through 10 from 1977. Couldn't actually get the actual quote from Pierre there, huh? Savage, soft tissue banana flavored Cobra for $2 says AIG is a bag of free Patriotism contents. Thank you. I'll take a drink.
So he's kind of committed to the theory, wouldn't you? My Bible says God's word is a light. It's a lamp unto my feet, a light unto my path. Evolution is not a light that everybody must follow.
Okay.
But if a kid goes to school 12 or 16 or 20 years in our town, now you got to understand, Escambia
That's
County.
what they meant, right? That they meant the same thing as that one Bible verse meant. Obviously.
Yeah.
Because there's no other way to think about the word light.
Right. The Bible, sure, maybe it's supposed to be there for like spiritual and ethical enlightenment and things like that. And evolution is really more about things like science and biology. But really, who doesn't get their like spiritual practices and their ethics from bits of science? I mean, that's why I go home and I pray to my Lord and Savior Neil deGrasse Tyson every day. So take that. Randall Gatubello for $5 says people compare creationism, Flintstones, but they are. Hold on. People compare creationism and Flintstones, but given they are Caucasians in North America and not Indians, it's more in line with Mormon theology. I mean, according to strict Mormon theology, they would be Middle Easterners, not Caucasians, but yeah, I guess I can see how that. Yeah, see it. Let's increase the counter. All right, here we go.
Is one of the top counties in the country as far as churches per capita.
Okay.
I think Santa Rosa County is in the Guinness Book of World Records. There are more churches per person in that county, I believe, than any place else in the United States. And I think we're a close second.
Is there a point to this? Like, Gratz can't...
Therefore, evolution isn't true.
You got a lot of churches. Woo!
we're certainly up in the top 2 or 3 percentage points in all the counties in America. Here we have, I think, 120 Baptist churches in this county. Probably well over 200 churches of other denominations.
Keller Otellian, who's been a member for 25 months and is at the annual level, says, school year has started. Looking forward to teaching some 7th graders genetics and evolution this year with a Godzilla and can't get bent. Thank you very much. I will take a drink, and I will say that's pretty awesome. I hope that goes well, and I hope that you don't have to derail the class too much to talk about this nonsense. But if you do, hopefully I've given you some ammo for that conversation if it has to come up.
There's an awful lot of churches in this county.
Cool.
And yet kids are going to go to school in this county and learn all these things that have been proven wrong for many years.
How many of the things that he has stated in this entire video were actually proven wrong? Because I can't remember a single one. Maybe you could make the argument that because Haeckel's drawings were not super accurate, that they've been proven to be inaccurate, and that counts. I'll be nice and I'll give him that one. So, okay. We got one thing. Roshna Autocatalytic Keller for $1.99 says, AIG is a collection of dinguses in a perineum sack. Well, first of all, you should not be keeping those in your perineum, but I'll take a drink anyway. If that's how your perineum is, you might want to see a doctor.
Well, what are we doing about it?
I don't know, Kent. What are you doing about it? Besides cheating on your taxes.
We're supposed to be the salt of the earth. Salt preserves. When I first...
Joshua Geese for $5. At one point in time, I think that Turlock, California, was in the record book as having the most churches per capita. That is a thing I have never ever wanted to look into. Is like, what area of the world has the most churches per capita? I don't know. It's just a weird little thing for me. Like, I don't know what I would get out of that information. I do remember there were a lot of churches in Seoul when I was in Seoul, South Korea. Most of them had neon sign crosses, so that at night you could figure out where the churches were. And I remember looking out from there's a radio tower in the middle of a park in the middle of Seoul. And I went up to the top of it, and I looked out, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of crosses. I know where all the churches in Seoul are. Thanks, guys. I didn't go to any of them, but I knew where they were. And then I promptly forgot, because I don't have a great internal map of Seoul, as you might be surprised to learn. I did have a lot of fun there, though. I'd like to go back. Wish I had been able to go there when I was there with the Navy in South Korea, but we weren't allowed to go that far. Which, I mean, yeah, it was hours and hours away, but still.
First moved to town, I started writing letters to the editor about evolution. That's what started my whole ministry. Writing letters to the editor. I went down and talked to Katie Knight, the lady in charge of selecting the science curriculum.
I really hope she ignored you.
I went in and I said, look, you're teaching things in these books that have been proven wrong a long time ago. After several meetings with her and letters back and forth, she said, Mr. Hovind, you are the only person in the entire county who's complaining about this. Well, first, I hope that's not true.
It probably was. Honestly, I'm surprised that she was that polite with him. If it had been me, I probably would have filed for a restraining order or something. Like, this guy is harassing me with absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
But if it is true, that's a sad commentary on Christians.
No, it's not. It's a great commentary on Christians. Because, Kent, you're doing something stupid and arguably immoral in trying to get actual science taken out of science classrooms. Good for the Christians that they were not harassing a school official to try to take out things from books that were true. That's not what Christians or anyone else should be doing. Dutch Tunicate Demonic Selection for $5 says, which with Music, I'm not sure what song this is supposed to be. I let you kick my AIG while I chewed on glass before I even thought about letting someone touch my clogs. I don't know what the tune is supposed to be, but I do appreciate it. And I will add that to the amount. And I'm gonna take a drink for it. I think what should be instead of AIG should be something else. So take a drink. Look, I'm getting generous with the AIG stuff. Ambi Carcinogistics, who's been Ambi Carcinogistics Z, who's been a member for 4 months and is at the tetrapod level, says, I might be sick with mono, yay for stream to watch. Well, that sucks. I'm sorry. Mono is, it's no fun. It's one of those diseases where it's like, okay, yeah, you're probably going to be fine, but it's going to really suck for, like, a while, too. It's not a quick disease. So, good luck with that. Yeah.
We got a lot of Christians are more worried about who wins some dumb Super Bowl game than what the kids are going to be taught tomorrow that's going to affect their life possibly forever.
See, I'm not actually sure that that's true. Because here's the thing, right? I think most people have, like, if you were to ask them, hey, would you give up watching a football game in order to ensure that textbooks were accurate in your schools, in your local area? And we're going to assume that you could actually make that happen. I feel like most Christians would probably say that, yeah, I'll give up watching a football game for that. But the problem is that Kent thinks that, one, his way is the way Christians just are, right? And that, two, because all the Christians agree with him, or at least should, the fact that they're not currently harassing school officials means that they don't care. But none of that actually follows. For one thing, it's evidenced by Kent Hovind himself. It doesn't seem like harassing school officials actually gets anything done, unsurprisingly. Because yeah, you're like a curriculum supervisor or whatever you call them is probably not going to listen to you when you just continually flap your gums about stupid things that aren't true at them. Like, why would they care? If I were a school attendant and I got a letter from Kent Hovind, I would, let's assume I don't know who he is, I'd open it, I'd read it, and then I would instruct my secretary to always put his letters in the trash. Don't open them. I'm done with that. My pedant, who's been a member for 17 months, says, I find it hard to believe that Dapper doesn't have a map of all local churches written on his soul. Spelled like the city. Yeah, no, I don't. Actually, I do know where some of the closest churches are. Like, I know where there's a nearby Episcopal church. There's a Mormon, or what they call their church buildings, but there's a Mormon church not too far away. There's a Methodist church in the other direction. I think there's a Church of Christ with a food bank that they keep advertising outside their church, not too far away. So I do know where some of the local churches are. Rael Gatubello for $5 says, Christians don't care at all what kids are being taught at school. That's why they're totally not trying to ban books in public libraries. Yeah, that's a great point. There's a concerted effort from not Christians broadly, but a significant and not terribly small subsection of Christians in the United States who are actively trying to get books they don't like kicked out of school libraries. Writers Cornelius Hunter, the Count of Snoozeville, for $2 says, how generous will you be? AIG, Sack, Richard? I'll take that one. I'll take that one. Yeah, we'll take it. I'm thirsty. It's the real thing. I have beer that I like, and I'm thirsty. Savage Soft Tissue Banana Flavored Cobra for $5 says, putting a letter from Kent Hovind in the trash is returning to sender. That's a great one. That is, I like that. Oh, that's so true. Here we go.
Certainly for this life, it's going to affect them. And it has cost, all three of my kids are in the room here tonight. When we started this ministry 12 years ago, it's cost you three. Dad was gone a lot. I'm still gone a lot.
Kent, given what I know of your style of parenting, which is to say physically abusive and almost certainly emotionally abusive, given how you've treated some of your kids as adults, I'm going to have to say that Dad being gone a lot is probably one of the best things you could have done. I'm sure it was a relief every single time you were gone. And I'll just say this. Kent Hovind's first wife, Jo, has never accused Kent of beating her. But Kent was convicted of beating his third wife. And when asked whether or not Kent ever beat her, Joe simply refused to answer. So, does that mean Kent beat his wife too, in addition to him having admitted to beating his children? I can't say it definitely means that, but if you're asking me my opinion, yeah, I think he beat his first wife. Can I prove it? Nope. Would I swear to it in an affidavit? No. Is it my personal opinion that he beat his first wife? Yes, it is. I am pretty well convinced of that. So yeah, Kent being gone is not a cost to his family. There's a reason why, when he got out of prison, one of the first things that happened is that they told him he had to go live somewhere else, and he was getting divorced. You know what that reason is? It's because his family got almost a decade away from him, away from his constant abuse. They didn't want anything to do with him. Roachina Autocatalytic Keller for $1.99 says, "What's that two-called organism called?" You mean two-celled? Yeah, I think you meant two-celled. Yeah, Diplococcus is the bacteria with 2 cells. Or, I mean, it always occurs in pairs. And then we have from Joshua Geese 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships that were gifted. So everyone send in your tetrapods and maybe sessile tunicates, but no pelagic tunicates. That's unacceptable. Fearmonger, I see what you're doing. Let's take 5 drinks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so let's add the memberships and the super chats. All right, here we go.
This is I take this battle
Dappers
seriously.
are
It's been a
professional.
sacrifice for my family. It's been a sacrifice for me personally. This is a war, folks. You guys in the Marines are willing to go off to war, leave your family, possibly get killed. Praise God. I'm glad you're out there defending my freedoms.
Okay, so this was given in the late 2000s. I can't think of a damn thing that the Marine Corps was doing that was preserving a single one of Kent Hovind's freedoms. And I say that as someone who was in the military around this time. So I'm including the Navy, the Air Force, the Army. Nothing that was going on with the U.S. military was defending Kent's freedoms in any meaningful way. Sorry. The United States has not been in a war that was defending its own freedoms for, I mean, what, the War of 1812? I mean, certainly not the Spanish-American War, not the Philippines War, not the Korean War, not the Vietnam War, not any of the Iraq wars, not the war in Afghanistan. Like, what? Seriously, what war do you think was being fought when you said this that was in any way about protecting your freedoms rather than protecting American supremacy on the international stage, which is not the same thing? Or just protecting the interests of U.S. businesses, which is even more not the same thing. I don't try not to go all political here, but as a veteran who got to experience this whole fighting for freedom thing from the inside, at least to some degree, it really bugs me when people pretend like anything I did was there to help U.S. freedoms. Or when they tell me things like, the military isn't fighting for this freedom, when in fact that's exactly what we're fighting for. Like, the military's not fighting for the freedom of gay people to go live their lives. Like, no, actually, that's exactly what I would have been fighting for if you'd asked me. Right? Or at least among those things, not that one thing specifically, but like that's in the category of things that I was hoping to defend. I didn't actually defend anything like that, but it was at least part of my goal. Roshino Autocatalytic Killer for $4.99 says, "My last question was because I missed hearing Ben's voice and I knew he'd answer." Aw.
Oh, thank you.
You gotta talk more. Say things.
All right. Hi.
Well done. You said a thing.
I did.
I don't know. Ben, maybe you disagree with me about the wars thing.
I have opinions, but I don't like to voice them.
Fair
But
enough.
I'll say that it's pretty much on the same track as what you're saying for
Yeah.
the most part. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. Things I saw, yeah. I really don't want to get into it.
Fair enough. It's also always weird when someone says, "Thank you for your service," and I'm like, I didn't do anything that was of service to you. I appreciate the sentiment, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
Dapper Dinosaur joined the Navy to defend the flag. I actually feel really weird about flags. I don't actually like flags overall. They all feel weird to me. Like, people get like super emotionally attached to like colored bits of fabric, and I'm like, that's just, I don't get it. I really don't. That's one of the reasons why like there's no flags in any of my bios or anything. I just don't get it.
Well, I'm out there defending your freedoms on this creation evolution topic.
Oh my god, just drink.
We need some more people doing that. Salt
What a
preserves.
hero,
Our job
Ken.
is to
Thank you.
preserve
Right.
from corruption. We're not
I'm
doing
opening
it.
my next beer.
Salt also irritates. If nobody's irritated at you, you're probably not a very good Christian. You can pretty much tell how good a Christian somebody is by how many
Kent must be the best Christian to ever live.
What basis is that from, Ken? Is it from loving your neighbor as yourself?
I think it's entirely just based on the fact that salt can be scratchy sometimes, and it can sting your eyes. That's
Which
it.
is the whole point of salt. It's not to enhance flavors or anything like that.
Yeah. Jillian the Chromosome Wren says, my partner hates being thanked for his service. Yeah, it's... Look, I get that when we... This is for all the non-veterans out there and the people who don't have veterans work with. I get what you're trying to do when you say that. But do be aware that there's a significant section of veterans who get really uncomfortable when you do that. Yeah. So, just be aware of that. I'm not saying stop. I'm just saying be aware that it may not be received in the way that you meant it to be taken.
people hate him. You know, everybody says, oh, you should love, love, love. Yeah, I do. If you love God, people will hate you.
It's hard for me to imagine a more mainstream and acceptable thing in the United States of America than being a Protestant Christian. Like, this is just oppression porn. Kent wants to be oppressed. Here's the thing, Kent. Go find a dominatrix over in Alabama and pay her to step on you in high heels, right? That's how you can get your, like, oppression fetish going. Because pretending that Christians are the most put upon group in the country is absolutely insane. It's just not true. Or alternately, move to a country where Christians are actually being oppressed. Want to go hang out in Iran, Pakistan, Egypt, parts of China? Go for it. Go have fun. You're in America, Kent. One of the most religious countries in the world and one of the most Christian countries in the world. Virtually every president, actually no, every president of the United States has at least claimed to be Christian. I happen to think several of them were lying about that, including the most recent one. Or at least the most recent former one, I guess. I think Joe Biden probably is Catholic. But yeah, like, the idea that the Christians are a put-upon minority in the United States is just absolutely off the wall. Do3 et al. For $5 says, LMAO at Kent defending freedom by dictating what should and shouldn't be taught. Yeah, there is that too. Right? Like, he's harassing elected officials. Who are elected by whom? Those Christians, he's saying, are disagreeing with what those people are teaching. They could just vote that person out. They don't, though. Seems like that's prima facie evidence that they do agree with what's being taught in the schools. You know.
Nobody hates you, then you don't love God very well, do you? So why do people believe in this theory anyway? Why would anybody believe?
Also, that sounds like just an excuse to be the worst person possible, and then whenever you get pushed back on that, you'd be like, oh, see, I knew God loved me. And then you just keep doing the worst, just being the worst possible.
Yeah, it's pretty much the opposite of what you should do, which is to love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe through that, maybe that might convince them to be a Christian, maybe not, but it's not your job to save others. You're not Jesus.
Yeah.
We came from a rock. Well, some people believe it because that's all they've ever been taught.
No, I've never been taught that everyone came from a rock, and I've never believed it, nor have I ever met anyone who believed it. Just take a drink. My pendant for $5 says, at Jillian the Chromosome Wren, I am betting $5 that I can make Bent say more than 3 words. But it seems like you just lost that bet, which I think means that you now owe another $5 super chat.
Maybe not.
Oh. Roshna Autocatalytic Keller for $1.99 says, Kent's fetish is vague theological oppression. Oh, that dominatrix can throw Bibles at his face. That's what she can do. I wonder if that costs extra, the Bible tossing.
Probably.
Probably, yeah.
when I spoke in the university in Chernovtsi, Ukraine. They had 30 professors. Are you from Chernovtsi? You're from Russia, not Ukraine, right? Okay. You're from Chernovtsi? Okay. When I was in your town in Ukraine, I spoke at the university. 30 professors came, sat in the room. I spoke for 2 hours. These 30 professors sitting in the room, I'm speaking for 2 hours to an interpreter.
Get to the point, man.
After 1 hour of speaking on creation and evolution, one of the professors began to cry. There was a lady interpreting for me. They had several interpreters. I wear them out because I talk kind of fast, you know.
This
At
is
the
a
time,
story
there was
that
a
didn't
lady
happen.
interpreting for me.
This didn't
said,
happen.
"Man,
Take a drink.
What's he crying about?" And she said, "Oh, he's happy. He didn't know there was a creation story. He's never heard of this."
And how would they know what's going on in his head?
Well, there's that, but also, okay, look, I know that under the USSR, Christianity was in fact suppressed to various levels. However, also during that time, the Russian Orthodox Church maintained parishes throughout the Ukraine, and I don't know if you guys know this, but Genesis is in the biblical canon of the Russian Orthodox Church. They have, in fact, the Easter icon, the icon they pull out and put center of the church during the most important period of the church calendar. That icon has Adam and Eve on it. Just think about that. The resurrection icon in the Eastern Orthodox Church has Adam and Eve on it. I'm not going to get into why. There's various theological reasons having to do with various Bible passages. But yeah, I do not believe for a second that anyone in Ukraine didn't know that there was a creation story. Because all they would have to do to know that churches exist is to walk around, and pretty much everyone knows that generally speaking, most theists, which is what Russian Orthodox churches are generally full of, believe that God created the universe. They might not have a great detailed idea of how that's being conceived in those churches, but they at least know that it's a thing. My pedant says, when somebody told Coolidge they had made such a bet, his response was, "You lost." That is a really good response. I like that. Here we go.
He wants you to keep going. All he's ever heard all of his life is evolution. Last week I spoke in Seattle, Washington, 4 different Russian churches, about 1,000 people each time.
I've heard Kent speak in Russian churches. In case anyone's wondering, they were not Russian Orthodox churches. I don't think Kent would ever step foot in a Russian Orthodox church. So, yeah. I don't think he considers them to be the right kind of Christians, if he considers them to be Christians at all. Although, I doubt that Kent could describe to you anything to do with the difference between, say, the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church. So there's also that. I don't think he could differentiate between them.
People came to me afterwards and said, "We've never heard this stuff." In Soviet Union...
I'm sorry, so in the Protestant Russian churches, no one had ever read Genesis. I don't believe you, Kent. I'm taking another drink. I just don't believe Kent. That's... Like, no. That's completely off the wall. There's no way that's true.
It's nonsensical.
One man Hovind is no one's freedom fighter for $2 with their 10th super chat. So thank you very much, Writer. Says, "Wow, I didn't know Kent could still surprise me." Look, I am surprised most episodes of this show because, like, I don't think it can get any dumber or any more dishonest or any more abusive or whatever, you name it. And then Kent's like, "Hold my non-alcoholic beer," because he's a teetotaler. Like, it's like every time, man. I don't know how he does it, but I realized there's just no bottom. Like, you think you've reached the bottom of the depravity and the dishonesty and the stupidity with Kent Hovind, and there is no bottom. It always goes lower. It is impossible to find the basement level of Kent's stupidity, depravity, and just evil.
Creation was censored out. capitalism was censored out.
Of the Bible, Kent? You know what? Tell you what. If anyone has any Soviet-era Bibles from, like, the Russian Orthodox Church or from any Protestant churches in anywhere in the USSR, please let me know whether or not it contains Genesis. Specifically, like, Genesis 1 through 11, the primeval history. Like, I really do want to know. Savage Soft Tissues Banana Flavored Cobra for $4.99 says, Ken probably thinks the Russian Orthodox Church answers to the Pope. Oh. Yeah, he probably does. Yeah. Instead, they answer to Patriarch Kirill, who, yeah. Someone should give him a swift kick in the AIG. Roshina Autocatalytic Keller for $1.99 says, in Protestant Russian circles in Seattle. Well, I mean, I'm sure they're like a diaspora community, right? Because, I mean, there are like churches in the United States that focus on diaspora communities from certain ethnic groups. Like, you can find a lot of Protestant Korean churches in America, where like the signs in Korean and they're reading the Bible in Korean. In fact, as a kid, my family joined like a church plant that was looking for a permanent location, and for a little while they were meeting in a Korean church, like after their services. And so, like, as a kid, I would go into this church and there was just like Korean writing on the walls, and there were Korean Bibles in like the seat back pockets of the chairs and whatnot. So yeah, having a Russian Protestant church in Seattle is actually probably not that crazy, or the Seattle area. So actually, I interviewed someone for Leaving Young Earth Creationism who was, I believe she was Ukrainian. She was living in the Seattle area, and she had attended a Protestant church that was basically, I think it was Ukrainian. So, you know, it happens.
Guess what? In America, creationism is censored out.
Is there a bunch of book burnings of like scientific creationism by Henry Moore that I just never learned about? No one is censoring you. You've been on TV. You were on the Ali G show. Remember that, Kent? When you left a giant steamer in the toilet and didn't bother to flush? Yeah. I mean, you denied it, but obviously, even if it were true, you would have denied it. C Design Proponent says, for 200 Argentinian pesos, says, Dapper, can't get worse. Kent, you know how long I've been waiting for this? Ooh, I'm about to make a name for myself here. I do appreciate the Gambit shout-out right there. I didn't realize that's where we're going until the very end, where we got the, ooh. Man, that was fun. The Channing Tatum Gambit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go see movies. Go see movies. It wasn't spoiled for me, which I was very happy about.
I went to a library one time. I go to a lot of libraries. I don't remember where it was even, but I got in this massive library.
Liz D, what did I do to make you sad? I don't even know what I did. Jillian, the Chromosome Wren, says, at the time they used the Russian Synodical Bible, I can't find a copy in a 2-second Googling, but Wikipedia quotes Genesis chapter 1. So, yeah, I don't think it was censored, Kent. What does Kent think censoring is? You think it's when the government...
You might not know.
It seems like he thinks it's just when the government doesn't give you everything you want. When you're being censored.
Yeah, that isn't...
Some university. I got on their computer Erica search program, and I said, how many books do you have in here about evolution? 1,400.
Wait, I skipped your super chat? Hold on. Oh, I did. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Liz D, this story implies Kent could have told them literally any creation story, and that guy would have broke down weeping. AIG is a bag of Kent Hovinds. And yes, I will take a drink for that. And yeah, actually didn't think about that, but it does imply that. Like, yeah, like the idea of a divine creation, just not a thing that had ever occurred to this man. That seems super unlikely. Roshna Autocatalytic Killer, but why would a Russian church in Seattle, not under the yoke of the USSR, not have Genesis? Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. There's no good reason, right? I mean, it's not like translations of the Bible into Russian don't exist outside of the USSR and their purview. So even if it were the case that the USSR had forced like the Russian Orthodox Church to remove Genesis, that wouldn't actually prevent Genesis in Russian from being known about. Because phenomenon of the samizdat, right? Like illegally published books that were passed around sort of on the DL. That was a thing too. I mean, people had like bootleg Bibles. Savage Sock Tissue Banana Flavored Cobra for $5 says, creationism is censored in America. Says man making his living by giving large public talks on creationism in America. Yeah, but they threw him in jail for that, don't you know? Definitely wasn't anything to do with the taxes. It was for being a creationist. Yeah, that's what happened. The United States is still one of the only countries where you have to be ever vigilant lest creationists sneak creationism into schools while you're not watching. Like, it is hard to understand just how like broad the appeal of creationism is in this country if you don't live here.
Titles. How many books by? And I typed in some major evolutionist authors, you know, Stephen Gould, Niles Eldredge, and these kind of guys. Buku books. Okay, there's libraries jammed with books on evolution. So I typed in to see how many books there were on creation. Up came about 9 titles. All of them were anti-creation books.
Wow, sounds like someone's doing a good job. Okay. I mean, that's more or less what I would expect for all other sorts of weird, crazy conspiracy theories, like Flat Earth, or 9/11 was an inside job, or anti-vax, or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, sounds about right.
Books written by evolutionists against creation. But the search program caught it as having the word creation in the title or the subject, okay? So I went to the librarian. I said, ma'am, why do you have 1,400 books about evolution and no books about creation? I searched under all the major creation authors. Henry Morris, Dwayne Gish, Ken Ham, all of them I could think of, okay?
Okay, here's the thing. If your local library doesn't have a book that you think they should have, there's a simple solution to this. Donate it. Go walk to a bookstore, drive to a bookstore, order it from a bookstore, the book that you want the library to have, and then donate it. That's how libraries get a lot of their books. People show up with either used books or books that they just want the library to have, and they hand them over. So, here's the reason. No one had donated them before. Just do it. Just donate it. It's, you know what, Kent? To quote a non-Christian who I'm sure you think is burning in hell, be the change you want to see in the world, Kent. That's Mahatma Gandhi, in case anyone is wondering.
0. I said, ma'am, this is a university.
Which is all the more reason not to have any of those books. I'm going to take a drink. I forgot that was even the context. Yeah, Caden Slinger says, just a reminder, Kent also believes that 9/11 was an inside job. Yes, Annie's an anti-vaxxer. Yeah. Annie's a sovereign citizen, even though he doesn't like the title. Like, yeah, it's hard to find conspiracy theories. And he sells the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and recently he just went full mask off on that and was like, yeah, no, it's the Jews. So, like, he's also someone who thinks that, like, a Jewish cabal is running the entire world, trying to take over in the guise of Marxism or something. Yeah.
I thought students are coming here to get educated.
Mm-hmm. Hence why they don't have a bunch of books about pseudoscience. This is checking out.
It looks to me like they're only getting indoctrinated. You don't even have a balance in your library. I'm sure you don't have it in your classroom.
Okay, here's the thing about balance and fair-mindedness and even time for everything. There are some things about which there is no debate, right? We don't give equal time in chemistry class to the oxygen theory of fire and the phlogiston theory of fire. Why is that? Well, because we have extremely conclusive evidence of the oxygen theory of fire, that fire is essentially a rapid, self-sustaining oxidation chemical reaction. And we have basically no evidence and some counter-evidence for the phlogiston theory of fire, which is basically the idea that fire is actually the release of a substance called phlogiston from a substance. Okay. So we don't have to give equal time to these ideas. We don't give equal time to the flat earth theory, if you want to call it that, and the globe earth. again, because we have extremely good evidence of the globe Earth, extremely conclusive evidence against the flat Earth. Similarly, no school should give equal time to young Earth creationism and actual science. Because just like with the flat Earth, just like with the phlogiston theory, there is extremely overwhelming and conclusive evidence in favor of evolution. And there are literal mountains of evidence, and I mean literal. Like, you can go and physically walk and climb up a mountain that is itself made up of evidence against young Earth creationism. Robert Adsit, who's been a member for 21 months, says, I know a library started because someone willed their private collection to the local town. That is a really good thing to do with your local collection of books, is will it to a library or will it to the town to start a library. And there's Mothra and a Godzilla and a 2 pelagic tunicates. But there's also a match clot, which I do appreciate, so thank you very much. We'll take a drink for that. Alright, here we go.
I said, why don't you have any books in here about creation? She said, we do have a book in here about creation. I put it in here myself. I said, oh, what is it? She told me the name of it. I said, where's that from? She said, from the Watchtower Society.
The Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, they are mostly old Earth creationists, so, like, technically that counts. The woman herself was probably a Jehovah's Witness. Okay. I actually have owned some Jehovah's Witness creationism propaganda books. They're certainly something. I'll give you that. They are out there.
Oh, well, yeah, you got one Jehovah's Witness book in here about creation, and the rest are, and even they believe in the gap theory or the day age theory, something like that. They believe the Earth is, billions of years old.
I'm going to call that a confirmed prediction because I was talking about how they're old Earth creationists. Which, hey, you know what? That makes them better than Kent. So, Kent, get on the level of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay.
Although, to be fair, they're scamming way more people than Kent has. Because, their current real estate scam?
No, I don't.
So, because Jehovah's Witnesses are discouraged from going to college and getting, like, any kind of higher education, instead they're encouraged to go into the trades, they've got a bunch of people who are, like, electricians, carpenters, plumbers, stuff like that, right? So what they do is, they say, oh, hey, we need to make a new meeting house, right? So, go pool your money together and buy this empty plot of land, and then build a really nice kingdom hall on it. Like, super nice, all, like, wired up to code, everything done for free, because it's the church members who are doing all the labor. And then they say, oh, we need to combine these two, like, kingdom halls or whatever, so we're going to sell this land. And then what that money goes towards is the tens of thousands of dollars they owe to the United States federal government daily for keeping them in the dark about known child abusers in their own ranks, because they have that information and they won't give it out to the federal government, who currently has a subpoena, and so they've been in contempt of court for years now. So they're just getting their own church members to give them free labor to pay off their contempt of court costs.
That's so shameful.
Yep. And unfortunately, that message isn't going to reach any Jehovah's Witnesses, because Jehovah's Witnesses aren't watching this. So, yeah, that's a thing that Jehovah's Witnesses are doing. Or I should say the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. Like, your average on-the-ground Jehovah's Witness doesn't know that that's what's going on, because they're not allowed to look into, quote, apostate material, which is the place where you would find out that that's what's going on. Because it's a cult. Alex Markle, who's been a member for 18 months, says, Kent is the one person who, being a transphobe, is on the bottom of the list of garbage that they are. Yeah, it is. It is pretty crazy that, like, Kent is so bad that's, like, and he's a transphobe. I'm like, yeah, but look at all the other stuff. Like, of course. I'm like, yeah, no, it's... Ugh. Roshan Autocatalytic Color says, give equal time to miasma theory of disease and, quote, clinical aromatherapy in biology class. Yeah, exactly. We don't need to give equal time to all of these crackpot ideas, but also we're a little bit over on the break time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go put us on a quick intermission. I'm going to grab myself a fresh bottle of beer, and then we're going to come back to this when we're done. We only have, like, a minute and a half left of this video of Kent. We might actually end up going on to the next video, which I already have downloaded. So, we'll see how that works. In the meantime, please do enjoy the musical stylings of one Bent Hovind, assuming it actually works. Apparently, it's just random whether or not OBS decides to play the music on that one. So, good luck. And we are back. Welcome back, everybody. Oh, I think we actually gained some viewers over the break. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Do we have anything new? Let's see. Yes, for $5, Savage Soft Tissue Banana Flavored Cobra says, oh no, they have pseudoscience from the wrong 19th century cult when they should have ideas from Ellen G. White. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is roughly what's going on right there. So now that we're back, real quick, I do want to say thank you so much for everyone's generosity. You guys are amazing. You are the reason that I can do this as like a job, right? Like, as Bent can probably attest, I spend a lot of time working on scripts, videos.
More than 40 hours a week. For sure.
Usually,
Easily.
yeah. There are a few weeks where I take it easy here and there. Like, I'm probably
I'm gonna keep track one day, but I can't because you're working before I wake up and after I go to bed. So
yes.
What am I supposed to do?
I might take a break coming up next month when Satisfactory 1.0 drops. Might take a little bit of time off to go play some Satisfactory. But no, you guys are amazing. And if you are currently not supporting financially and you can afford to and you're interested, we do have a few ways that are really helpful. One is the Patreon. That's linked in the description. On Patreon, that's where I get to keep the most of the money. Starts at $1 a month. It can go all the way up to $100 a month if you're really generous. You can also get a 15% discount for going annually. You get access to a special Discord server, early access to videos. There's the channel memberships that also gives you access to the Discord server and early access to videos. But that also comes with the emojis and the once a month membership milestone chats. That starts at $1.99 and can go up to $20. I do keep a little bit less there. Also, if you are on Patreon and you want to sign up with your iPhone or your Apple app, Apple's going to start taking 30% of the money that you think is going to me. So I would ask you not to sign up via a iPhone app if you want to sign up to the Patreon. Instead, just go to a web browser, right? Go pull out like Netscape Navigator, which I'm sure is the web browser of choice for most of my audience, and dial into AOL, and then you're going to want to navigate to okay, you get it. Olivia Williams, who's been a member for 27 months, is at the Tetrapod level, says demonstrating membership with a Ghidorah, and yes, there you go. We'll take a drink for that. Okay, if a monthly or an annual thing isn't your deal, there are other options. There's a merch store. You can see a merch shelf right below this video. Also, Bent has a Patreon, and we both have Amazon wish lists linked in the description. Also, if you get something from the wish list, like if you see on my wish list something you want, don't click on add to cart from the wish list, please, because what that does is when you buy it for yourself, it still takes it off my wish list. So numerous times people have bought things for themselves after finding it on my wish list, and then I have to re-add it to my wish list because it didn't come to me, it went to them. So please don't do that. If you find something you like on there and you want to buy it, that's fine. Just open up a new tab and search for it, and then buy it from your new tab, not the tab that has my wish list. Because that happens, and I don't always catch it in time. So, and of course, if you can't afford it, please do not give me any money that you can't afford to have. This should be an entertainment budget expense. This should not be coming out of, like, paying down debt, paying for housing, paying for food, any kind of thing like that, right? This is just extra money that you might have lying around that you want to help out with. And whether or not you're helping financially, hitting like on these videos really helps. Watching a few of my videos in a row, watching them to the end, sharing my videos, those are all great ways to help boost me in the algorithm, which in the long run helps the channel grow and helps me become more financially secure so I can keep doing this indefinitely. Because that is what I would like to do. I don't have I'm going to stop after in the next 3 years or something. My plan is to go as long as I possibly can. So, anything you can do to help out with that. That being said, we have Hank Says for $5 redo signing in with Opera to say good day and to buy you a couple beers. Thank you very much. I will, you know what? I'll take a drink for that. Although the Q should be capitalized and there should be an apostrophe after the A, so, you know. All right, here we go.
So they're no help. They're no help in a lot of areas, but I think an awful lot of folks believe this theory because they simply have never heard the other side.
Yeah, maybe, Kent. Maybe that's it. Maybe people just don't know about Genesis.
Now, I think it doesn't take somebody too intelligent to realize if creation and evolution were both taught to the students, equal time, fair, honest, balanced treatment, which one would the students believe?
Evolution. Because if it were actually given fair, balanced treatment, here's how it would go. Okay, kids, we're going to start out by learning about the evidence for young Earth creationism. There's a book that some people think indicates that the Earth is only 6,000 years old and that organisms were created separately. Okay, moving on with the rest of the class. Now let's learn about evolution. And then for the rest of the semester, you spend the entire time learning about evolution. That's it. That's how that would go. There is no evidence outside of just choosing to interpret the Bible in a particular way for young Earth creationism. Savage soft tissue banana flavored Cobra for $2 says laughs in former young Earth creationist. Exactly. Yeah. You and a lot of people here, including both myself and Bent, will laugh in young Earth creationism. Or former young Earth creationist, I should say. All right, here we go.
Creation. Right? They don't want that. They don't want the competition because they'd lose. I believe it was John.
No, Kent. They wouldn't lose. Because here's the thing. The competition as to which model of the history of the universe is correct isn't something that's fought out in classrooms full of kids. It's fought out in the peer-reviewed literature. And I know that you can't compete in that sphere, and that's why you want to compete in a sphere where the people you're talking to have no way to fact-check you. I get that that's the only way you think you can make a good case, is when you have to tell kids who don't know any better these things. But the problem is that if you want to get your ideas taught in a classroom, you have to get them accepted by the scholarly community that studies that particular subject. So in the case of biology, you need to get the biologists on board. And the only way that's going to happen is if you can actually find positive evidence and get it past peer review. But that's not going to happen because there is no such evidence. I've read what passes for peer-reviewed creationist biology papers. They're trash. They're the kind of thing that if you submitted this as an undergrad in college in a biology course, might get you expelled. Not just a failing grade. You might get expelled for lying about sources in some cases. At the very least, you would have a good talk with the department head of the biology department about ethics and codes of conduct and things like and academic honesty. That's why Kent wants school children to learn about creationism, because they don't know any better. Because he knows he can't convince the people who do.
John D. Rockefeller, one of those multi-gazillionaires in the last century, who said competition is a sin.
Yeah, man, because he wanted a monopoly. What am I supposed to take away from John D. Rockefeller being like, oh man, I should vertically integrate the whole world? Like, okay, great.
When he was developing Standard Oil Company to the monster company that it was, let's suppose there's 10 gas stations in a town. Rockefeller would buy 6 of them, 7 of them. And back then, let's say gas is going for 20 cents a gallon. It costs the station 18 cents a gallon. They sell it, make 2 cents.
Rochdale Autocatalytic Killer for $4.99 says, so this was Kent saying school should teach creationism despite him repeatedly denying that he ever said that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You might be shocked and horrified to learn that Kent is a liar. And I don't mean that he's a small harp. I mean that he's a person who lies. Which also reminds me, lyrebirds are cool. And that's L-Y-R-E, not L-I-R. L-I-A-R, yeah. Lyrebirds with L-Y-R-E. Look them up. They're super cool.
He would lower his price to 16. He would lose money for months on those 6 stations in that town. What's going to happen to the other 4 gas stations? They're going to go out of business.
Yeah, there's a reason that why when the United States government finally got around to passing antitrust legislation, and then they brought suit against Standard Oil under those antitrust legislation or pieces of law, that when the financials were disclosed, Standard Oil wasn't actually doing too well, and they were going to probably have some trouble pretty soon because they kept doing these anti-competitive things, which lowered their profit margins, and then they went too far with vertical integration, which meant that they didn't have an actually good sense of how much it cost to do things like drill oil out of the ground and get involved in like the manufacture of various components for the oil rigs and things like that, right? Because they were too vertically integrated. So there was no price signaling. It turns out that in the long run, monopolies are actually bad for the monopolists after a while. What do you know? But yeah, I don't know what to tell you, Kent. Yeah, Standard Oil was stupid and probably evil. Okay, great. I don't know what your point is. No one is buying up schools in order to drive down the price of creationism. Like, that's not a thing that's happening. There's no real correlation here.
He's going to buy them. Now he owns all 10. Now, guess what happens to the price of gas? 22 cents a gallon. We got to make up for what we lost, you know. That's exactly what happened all over.
Yeah, except the problem is that it generally didn't work very well because people noticed that, hey, I could probably start a gas station and sell gas at 20 cents now. And new entrants did come into the market. Now, it didn't break the monopoly, or the near monopoly that Standard Oil had. But again, there's a reason that Standard Oil was actually kind of on the ropes by the time the United States government got around to breaking it up. Like, now, Rockefeller was fine, right? Because he was taking gigantic cuts of the profits before and after he started doing stupid stuff. So, I mean, he was doing great. But, like, this company as a whole, you know.
His philosophy was competition is a sin. Eliminate the competition.
Oh, the numbers now on this video seem to say that we have more than I thought. So, I don't know. I feel like there was a one I missed somewhere. Sorry about that, everyone.
That's the philosophy of the evolutionist in the classroom. They don't want the kids to see the other side.
So they buy up all the textbooks and lower the price on textbooks about evolution. That's how it works, everybody. The evolutionists are selling your kids Monopoly textbooks. Don't let them. Go support your local mom and pop textbook shop.
And because of this, many kids have never even heard about the creation story. Many kids in Escambia County have never had a fair shake on the creation story.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put in a poll. Let's see. Have you heard of Genesis? Yes, no, and of course. Sure. Just cue in my eye, or questioning my eyes. There's about 120 of you here. Have you heard of Genesis? Yes or no, or turtle?
Here's a Russian textbook. Guess what they use for evidence for evolution?
I don't know, man.
Same stuff they use here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's the same all over the world.
Yes, Kent, because the scientific evidence for evolution is going to be the same no matter where you are, my guy. We think Mexico has their own special evolution that they don't tell everyone else about? Like, what does he think should be happening? I can't. I'm taking a drink. What? Man, can you believe that in Russia they have the same evidence as in America? Yes, that's how science works. I can't even comprehend what he thinks is supposed to be happening.
I think people believe in evolution because their job depends upon it.
Kid, you're a Baptist preacher. You don't get to tell other people that their job depends on them following the orthodoxy. You're a Baptist preacher, my guy.
If a professor at University of West Florida up here in Pensacola if one of the biology or anthropology or geology or botany, any of the sciences, if they got up in front of their class tomorrow morning, or Jan at PJC where you teach, if a science teacher gets up tomorrow and says, students, I don't believe evolution anymore. I believe in creation. What's going to happen?
Nothing, because that's what's happened historically. There are currently people who are either currently professors or who are relatively recently retired who became creationists after getting their professor job, right? Like John Sanford and James Tour come to mind. Neither of them were fired because of creationism. James Tour still teaches. His ratings on Rate My Professor are abysmal, but he still got his job. John Sanford's mostly retired, but he wasn't fired at any point. Nothing happens. Sure, you can go look at like that Ed Stein movie, Expelled, No Intelligence Allowed, but the problem is that when you look into every single one of those cases, it turns out that the idea that they were fired specifically for creationist beliefs doesn't actually seem to check out very well. Okay, Savage Soft Tissue Banana Flavored Cobra for $5 says, didn't you know that Slavic people have 4 bones in their forearms? That's why they're called forearm. With the FOU. I did not know that. No, that is news to me that the Slavs had extra bone in their forearms. Although I do remember the time that Raw Matt said that one of the differences between apes and humans is that apes only have 1 bone in their forearm and humans have 2. And I was just like, oh my god. Oh no, Raw Matt. Please. Savage Soft Tissue Banana Flavored Cobra for gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So thank you so much for that. And we will take... Oh, nope. I screwed it up again. Nope. That's a second time. I'm going to get this right. There we go. Got it right. I guess we'll take 7 drinks because I screwed up twice with Dapper's a Professional. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Roshina Autocatalytic Keller for $1.99 says, what's the name of this Kent Hovind seminar? This is Creation Science Evangelism 103, Class 3, Lies in the Textbook. 6. And 7. All right, here we go.
They're going to lose their job. If they're tenured, or they can't lose their job because they got 20 years teaching there, they will demote them to something. Janitor, lab assistant.
You can't demote a tenured professor to janitor, Kent.
He has no idea how anything works.
This man claims to be a PhD, and he doesn't know that you can't just demote a tenured professor to janitor. What the? Oh my god!
That's
I'm taking a drink. Demote him to janitor. Yep, I'm sure James Tour is sweeping up the hallways.
They will get it, and they will put them in a position where they cannot influence other students with their radical ideas.
Then why is James Tour still teaching? To this day, that man gets students. Granted, most students try to avoid his class to the maximum extent possible because he's generally considered to be an asshole, and it's very public knowledge on Rate My Professor that that's the case, and that basically you'll learn nothing and all he'll do is rant at you about Jesus, so people avoid his classes when they can. But he's still allowed to give them. This man is doing the literal opposite of what you complain about the so-called evolutionists doing, of trying to tell people about how God isn't real and shouldn't believe in Jesus, which generally is not happening. Meanwhile, we've got a current active Christian professor whose reputation on Rate My Professor is low specifically because he keeps ranting about God and Jesus and not teaching kids about chemistry. Explain this to me, Kent. How is this a possible set of facts that we have before us? Because I don't know. Now, granted, James Tour isn't necessarily a young Earth creationist. He plays kind of dodgeball with the question of how old the Earth is, although every once in a while he'll hint that he thinks it's probably young. But still, like, if anything, the opposite of what Kent is saying is true. There are professors out there who are going on and on about how Christianity is true and how God is real and how evolution is fake. And they get to keep their jobs. But my goodness, if you start going around telling people that they have to start like leaving their religion and how their religion is bad, that might actually get you brought up in front of a disciplinary hearing. That's not okay. That's against all sorts of rules.
Dean Kenyon, Kenyon, he was a biology professor, university in California, I think San Francisco State or Stanford, I don't remember which one. He wrote books about evolution. He believed in evolution. For 20 years, he was the poster boy of the evolutionists.
If he were the poster boy of evolution for 20 years, I probably would have heard of him. Also, in the poll, have you heard of Genesis? Yes, 79. Turtle, 20%. No, 0. So there you go. I don't know why only 99% of you answered, and yet the votes were counted. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's okay.
He got converted. Then he wrote a book, which we sell in our library, called Of Pandas and People.
Now, here's the question. Was his conversion before or after he became a young Earth creationist? Because what I find is actually pretty common among, like professors and whatnot that become young Earth creationists. They convert to Christianity for some non-scientific reason. And then they decide that that theology that they are now accepting is better aligned with young Earth creationism. And then for that reason, they decide to support young Earth creationism without ever actually having found a better evidentiary basis, but simply deciding that that's what they should do for theological reasons. What I find is far less common, to the point that I'm not sure it's ever actually happened, is someone who realizes as a result of the evidence that they're seeing that evolution can't be true, the Earth can't be more than a few thousand years old, and so then they become young Earth creationists, only to find that certain conservative branches of Christianity have been teaching that all along, and then they're like, oh, well, thank goodness, I guess I'll become a Christian then. That's not something I find happening. So the fact that you have a professor who used to be an evolutionist, who then converted to Christianity, and then started writing creationist propaganda, not very impressive. Because people convert to Christianity all the time for various reasons. Some of them bad, some of them presumably not bad. I don't know. I'm not in charge of any of that. I don't know what the reasons are that people convert to Christianity, but they're generally not because someone found out that the Earth is 6,000 years old as a result of the sober, assessment of the evidence. I'm not aware of that actually happening. Yeah.
Great supplemental biology book. He never mentions God.
Kent, of Pandas and People, is a very creationist book. And granted, maybe he calls the designer or whatever. Although, wait, isn't that the Panda's Thumb was the creationist book that was passed off as intelligent design? Okay, fair enough. Sorry, I don't want to mix up of People and Pandas with the Panda's Thumb. Those are not the same book. Weirdly similar titles. I don't know what it is with pandas that creationists seem to love, but yeah, okay.
He just says, look how well designed this is. Somebody must have designed this, There must be intelligence behind this. When he talks about the bones in the wrist or, any part of the biology. They actually fired him because he became a creationist.
I would love to see the source for that. Because, I'll be honest, haven't looked into this case, but I have looked into other cases, and they were all BS. So, if anyone knows where to find the story for that, please do send it to me, Discord, DM it to me or something, because I would be fascinated to know. Because I don't actually know, so I can't say that Kent is wrong about this. But I do know that every other time I've looked into it, that's not what's been going on. And so I am very skeptical about it this time. Of Pandas and People is the creationist text, so which one is... Okay, so hold on. Of Pandas and People is the creationist text that became the fake intelligent design, and the Panda's Thumb is the one Kent is talking about? I'm confused. Oh, Panda's Thumb was gold. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. No, that makes sense. Jeez. I'm sorry. I might have had too much beer. I'm going to take a drink for that, because while it's not a production error, that's really a boneheaded move for me. So we'll take a drink there. But that makes it worse, because Of Pandas and People was the book that had the C design proponentists, which means that the original draft of it was an explicitly a creationist book. Because it was talking about creationists and God, and they did a bad search and replace. So Kent is just lying. Great, of course Kent is lying. Why wouldn't Kent be lying? Why would I give Kent the benefit of the doubt? Of course he's lying. I'm just going to take another.
I'm shocked.
Seriously, I'm trying to be oh no, maybe Kent's he's right about that. No, of course not. He's lying, and I'm just mixing up the book I think that he's talking about with a Gould book.
There was a lawsuit over it. He got his job back. They put him in as a lab assistant. Usually college juniors and seniors do that, you know, clean up the test tubes, please. They tried everything to keep that guy, get him out of there. If he had not been tenured with 20 years, tenured, they can't fire him, he'd have been out the door.
If he was tenured, they couldn't have demoted him to lab assistant. That's it. In fact, that they fired him is good evidence he wasn't tenured. Sorry. Because schools know better than to try to fire tenured professors over ideological problems. Because that's never going to work. And Joshua Geese has just gifted 5 more Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So let's take 5 drinks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. But that is the end of that beer. So I have to crack open my 3rd beer. My goodness. Sorry, just to get something. I have an empty and cleaned can of regular Spam on my desk, waiting to be shipped out to Vishanti so that she can complete a costuming project that requires a clean can of Spam. And I figured I would do her the favor because Vishanti doesn't eat pork, but I sure do. So that is what I almost knocked over. I need to get that sent out to her. If that was supposed to be a secret, don't tell anyone I told you. Any of the 116 of yours or so of you.
I won't say anything.
Shh, keep it on the DL. And Vishanti, if you're watching, no, you're not. Don't worry about it.
When we get to part 7, I've been collecting for years now a list of people who have lost their jobs because they became creationists.
Yeah, so has Ben Stein. It turns out none of them checked out. So I just don't believe that your list means anything. I'm going to say I don't believe you, but like, I think he has a list that he thinks is people who lost their jobs for being creationists. I just don't think that's actually what it's a list of. I think it's a list of creationists who lost their jobs. Which is not the same thing.
That's the reason.
Steve Weber says, does Spam count as pork? I mean, it's made of pig meat, so yeah.
We'll get into more of that probably by the time we get to CSE 1020 at the time we're going here, at the rate we're going here. Okay, but we'll get there eventually.
More content for us, Bent.
Yay!
We're going to be doing Kent with Bent till one of us dies.
Years and years,
Yep.
and decades,
Yep.
and centuries will never stop.
Well, I feel like one of us might die in the next 100 years.
I am only human. My lifespan isn't as long as yours.
Yeah.
Some people honestly like this theory because they hope there's no God. Evolution is the only way to explain why are we here without bringing God into the equation.
I mean, maybe in the broad sense of God, but not in terms of like the Christian God who cares what you do with your junk, according to Kent. Like, there's a lot of other God concepts that could explain the world that either may or may not be compatible with evolution, which, again, evolution isn't incompatible with even, like, at least certain versions of the Christian God concept. So, like, this just doesn't really work. Plus, a lot of people want there to be a God, whether evolution is true or not. And, like, it being true doesn't remove that desire. Like, I really do not get...
I hope there's a God, and I believe in evolution, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is just Kent basically coming up with excuses as to why people disagree with him, because he realizes that the actual reasons that they give look bad for him. So he has to come up with better reasons. For his point. Better for him, not for them.
I mean, how did we get here? The 4 great questions of life. Who are we? Why are we here? Where are we going when we die? Those questions can only be answered with either somebody made us or we made ourselves.
Or some impersonal force made you. That's another option. Doesn't have to be a body.
And a lot of people really like evolution because it removes God from the equation and they get to be God.
How does that work?
Magic, I don't know. I don't know if Kent even knows what God means.
I'm going to take a
He
drink.
doesn't know what evolution means.
Ben,
so.
you and I are gods now that we accept evolution. That's how that works.
I don't feel comfortable being called that.
I'm going to use my god
I'm gonna
powers. I'm going to use my god powers right now to compel YouTube to quadruple the money that everyone has given me. Hold on. I'm going to concentrate. Oh, crap, it didn't work. Well, I guess there goes that idea. I'm probably not God then. Darn it. Although I guess if I were God, why would I need money? What does God need with a starship, right? The best part
Maybe
is
God
Star
wants
Trek
to go
5.
warp speed.
Shouldn't God be able to do that either way?
I mean, he could probably just go wherever he wants just by thinking about it. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the same as going warp speed.
Like a traveler. God is a
Maybe
traveler.
he wants to go slow, like warp
Wait.
speed.
Does that mean Wesley Crusher is actually God?
That's impossible, so
Okay. Okay. Sanguine Luca Descendant Sonder for $5 says, I learned the other day that spam mail is named after the pork product because of a Monty Python skit. AIG is a bag of dicks, Mothra, Godzilla, Ghidorah, and we'll take a drink. And yes, it is. Pretty good skit, by the way. I always like the spam, eggs, and spam. I was like, yeah. So let's get some of that. Although that's actually way too much spam per egg. Donald Jaramillo for $2 says, I don't believe in evolution, I'm convinced of it. I would argue that that means that you do believe in evolution, because believe is just the verb that means that you accept something as true. Anything that, if I say, hey, do you think X is true? If you can say yes, then you believe X. Now, you might not know X, because knowledge is a subset of belief. It is those beliefs that are both true and well justified. So, but, yeah, I mean, yeah. Borg Emporia, who's been a member for 14 months and is at the Amniote level, says, thank you, Dapper, for entertaining my turtle for me while I cleaned his tank. It's so difficult to find entertaining streams for him. Well, I am happy that your turtle has been entertained. Actually, Clint's Reptiles recently did a thing about common snapping turtles. And I am interested. I hope that he actually does some like actual experiments with his idea that the reason that snapping turtles are seen as very, very aggressive in captivity is because people are mishandling them, and that his method for handling them will make them become much less aggressive and friendly towards their handlers. Because, I mean, one, that would be cool, and two, he had at least some really good, he had some compelling footage of very, very, very friendly common snapping turtles, acting like little puppy dogs, like climbing onto his lap, reaching out for chin scritches and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what, that's adorable, and I hope you're right. Let's see. Donald Jaramillo for $2 says, what does God need with secret police with a Godzilla? Yeah, I don't think he needs that either. There's a drink for the Godzilla. A Savage Soft Tissue Banana Flavored Cobra for $2 says, but I don't believe Twitter. Well, okay, you don't have to. You can disbelieve Twitter. Alright. Let's get a little bit more into this.
People believe in evolution because they have social, political reasons. Evolution is the foundation for communism. So,
yeah, the communists who famously rejected evolution in favor of Lysenkoism, causing massive famines across the Soviet Union. Yep, definitely the foundation for communism.
socialism, Marxism, Nazism. We'll get into
Well, take a drink. He mentioned them.
all that.
Oh, and by the way, Hitler was a creationist. It doesn't seem like he was a Christian, but he was a creationist in the sense that he thought that human races were separately created by some divine agent. Yeah. In the fight of evolution versus creation, Hitler and Kant are on the same side.
In a couple of weeks. More on the history of this evolutionary theory. Some simply have too much pride to admit they're wrong.
Look in the mirror.
Seriously. Hey, Ben, remember that time that you were a young Earth creationist?
Yes.
Were you right about that?
No, I was
Oh
wrong.
my goodness. So you do
I
have...
wanted to be right, though, but...
Well, yeah. So are
Yeah,
you saying
it
that you
wasn't.
don't have too much pride to admit that you're wrong?
I can boldly admit when I'm wrong.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do debates with professors. I'll point out clearly, look, you're wrong right here. The audience will agree, yep, you're wrong. He goes on to a new topic. They never admit. Okay.
You're accusing other people of Gish galloping? Are you kidding me? I've debated you, my guy. You tried everything you could possibly think of to derail the conversation, and I had to continually point out that what you were talking about was completely off topic. My basic response to your entire opening was to say, well, I don't really know what a incorrect biography of Charles Darwin has to do with this, and since I'm not arguing for evolution per se, I'm just going to continue on talking about my topic. Now, it's not verbatim, but yeah, that's basically what happened in that debate. Kent, the idea that you are accusing actual professors of gish galloping is just amazing to me. Talk about projection. And yeah, get in your projector emojis, people. Seriously. And take a drink. Kent Hovind accusing other people of gish galloping is just wild.
Okay, I'm wrong. I've never had an opponent in a debate do that. I spent all day today editing the Pigliucci.
The reason none of your debate opponents have ever said, okay, I was wrong, you were right, is because you're pretty much wrong about everything you ever say. To the point that I don't think we've actually had more than 1 or 2 drinks this entire 2-hour period for Kent being right. It's so rare that I make it a drink trigger so we can celebrate the occasion it happens, Kent.
Yeah, and it's such a minor thing that he'll get right, and you'll be like, that's good enough, we'll drink for that.
Exactly, because I have to be super generous, or we would just never drink for it. Look, honestly, if you were looking for a heuristic as to what's true or not, just take the opposite position of what Kent takes on virtually anything, and you'll be right more often than not. Is it logically sound? No, but it's a heuristic. That's kind of the point.
Debate number 12 that we're offering now, and that's why it's fresh in my mind. I saw it about 20 times in there. You know, you're wrong. He would never say, "Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong." The Bible says in 2 Thessalonians, "For this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie."
Oh, weird, because I feel like Kent also says that God doesn't lie. So I guess that was a lie. Okay, cool. Although it also does say in Numbers that God is not a man that he should lie. So, you know what that's called? That's called a contradiction in the Bible if you want to take the Bible literally. One of those reasons that maybe you shouldn't take the Bible literally if you're going to be a Christian. I don't know.
If anybody believes we came from a rock, first place, that's a lie.
Well, great, Kent. Basically, no one does. I'm taking another drink. I'm going to pass out. That's not true. I've only had 2.5 beers.
And you have to be deluded to believe that. So, our textbooks in our county right here, there's a bunch on the table right there, contain things that have been proven wrong many years ago. What should we do about it?
Well, first, you could start by actually identifying things that are wrong, because you failed to do that utterly. But I don't
would
know.
say to educate yourself, Kent. That's what you should do about it.
Yeah, that would help.
Learn why you're actually in the wrong.
Of course, that would be a problem because, his job depends on him being wrong, so...
That's true, it does.
What are the practical steps?
Well, apparently, according to Ken, it's to harass elected officials.
And librarians.
Yes, and librarians, especially if they're Jehovah's Witnesses.
If I announce tonight that I have discovered top secret information that a truckload of tainted, poisonous milk.
What?
What is he talking about?
I'm sorry, so you think it's a government secret that there is a truckload of tainted milk? What is... This is clearly someone who's never had a security clearance in his entire life. Like...
No, he hasn't.
He really hasn't. You can often tell if you've had a security clearance. You can tell when people talking about classified stuff just haven't had a security clearance because they say some wild stuff like, "What if it was classified that there was a poisonous batch of milk going out to consumers?" It's like, why would anyone classify that? Who would classify that? Who would need to know on that it needs to be like? What are you talking about? Oh my goodness. Donald Jaramillo for $2 says, "Don't younger creationists believe we came from dirt/rock powder?" Yes, the dust of the earth. Mm-hmm. Yep. But for some reason, by adding God to that mix, it means that it doesn't count as coming from a rock. I don't know.
Was delivered to all the public schools this afternoon after the schools closed. They're going to serve it for breakfast and lunch tomorrow.
I always get orange juice for breakfast, so I would be okay until lunch.
You follow me?
No, Kent, because that's completely off the walls bonkers. That makes no sense. I don't follow you at all. But whatever, who cares? Goodness. I would like to see the results of a security clearance background check for Kent Hovind.
That would be pretty funny.
I mean, you can't get a security clearance if you're a felon. So Kent has something in common with his favorite recent president, who he wanted to pardon him. They're both convicted felons.
Wow, wow.
Who don't qualify for security clearances, which does raise the question of whether or not the current Republican presidential candidate should be getting security briefings, as is traditional for both parties' candidates. Probably shouldn't, since he doesn't qualify for a security clearance, but what am I? Just some guy, I don't know. Yeah. Isn't it fun that the next president of the United States could be a guy who's like disqualified from even having a security clearance and who couldn't get a job as like a janitor at a bank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny or sad, I'm not sure.
It's both. It's both. Of course, our other option is a drug warrior who literally enslaved people past their release date for cheap labor. Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, I'll stop being political because it's going to make me really, really sad because it's U.S. politics. It's always depressing.
Secret information that a truckload of poisoned milk was sent to the schools.
Okay. What about it,
It's
Kent?
going to be delivered tomorrow.
Okay.
How would you feel?
I don't know, Kent. This is such a ridiculous scenario that I can't even imagine how I would feel about you having top secret information about poison milk. My initial thought would be like, are you in on it? Because otherwise I don't understand how you could come into this information. Song says, I have an FBI file from a security clearance investigation. One of my supervisors said it was interesting reading. That does sound like interesting reading.
What would you do about it? Well, folks, a truckload of poisonous books was sent to our schools months ago.
Oh, God, take a drink.
Wait,
fed
so
to the kids
teaching evolution
tomorrow.
literally makes kids die?
Yeah, according to Kent, apparently. I'm just take a drink. I mean,
What a terrible analogy that also made no sense for multiple reasons.
I have heard creationists blame school shootings in the United States on the teaching of evolution. I'm not kidding. Kent, in particular,
Yeah, that also makes no sense.
has pointed out that one of the Columbine shooters had natural selection on his shirt when he went to do the whole thing. Yeah, he probably does actually think that the teaching of evolution is directly causing kids to die. Because, drug or gun control reform? No. Instead, we should teach everyone obvious lies about science. Then gun violence in schools will go away. That's the real key.
Let's find something to do about it. Next class, we'll talk about what to do about it. Lies in the textbooks, how can we fix it? Let's do something about it. Thank you so much. Dismissed.
All right. Well, guess what? That is the end of that video. Now, it is a little early for us, but you know what? That's okay. I'm going to call it. We're not going to try to open up, like, the next video, because, like, what? We got, like, 9 minutes. I'm not even going to bother. Because for one thing, I'd have to, like, go to the intermission real quick while I pull everything up and set it up with the OBS and everything. I'm not going to bother with that. So, next week we will start with CSE 103 Class 4, I believe. What do we do about the lies in the textbook? Now, I'm probably going to preemptively download Class 5 because I have a heavy suspicion that Class 4 may not actually include a whole lot of like science claims and instead may just be weird conspiracy theory nonsense that I don't really want to go over. So, we'll see. Savage Soft Tissue Banana Flavored Cobra for $5 says, what? Do the books have apricot seeds between the pages or something? Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a good point. Kent literally sells poison to people as a cancer preventative and cure. Yeah, it's... I wasn't even thinking about that, Savage Cobra. And I'm a little sad now. Because I like to forget the fact that Kent literally encourages people to eat poison. Which is not great. It's not great. But, Bent, I do think that you have managed to escape wearing the tutu, finally. You had to wear it twice in a row, but You think that you have escaped from that fate.
Oh well.
A fate worse than, I don't know, something. There's got to be fates worse than that.
Maybe.
All right, so let's take a look. Ben, do you have anything that you want to tell people about that's coming up for you in the near future before we
Yeah, I
go
want to
on?
remind everyone about the Top Hats Off Power Rangers Jungle Beats tomorrow. It's the final episode, so
true.
please be there. Set an alarm for, 22 hours from now?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, and then go to Top Hats Off and just watch. It'll be fun.
I think it'd be fun. I plan on having fun. All right, so let's see what's coming up. So obviously tomorrow is the final episode of Power Rangers Jungle Beasts. Then on Thursday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, we've got It's Just a Clown Show, Evolution is a Fact, Part 4 of 5. That is going to be the next part of the Sabor Ahmed and Muslim Lantern live stream response. Yeah. It's very, very dumb. But I'm there to help you get through it. So that, again, will be at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, the 15th. Then on Saturday, I am planning to do a Dapper Reacts. Vishanti will not be here almost certainly, so do not expect that. I'm thinking about getting another guest. I don't know who yet. It might just be me, like it was last week. Also a possibility. So yeah, no guarantees as to whether or not anyone will be there or who it would be. So there's that. And then let's see. Next Tuesday should be Matt with Maddie. I have spoken with Maddie actually like at the beginning of the month, and she penciled it into her calendar because she specifically reached out to say like, hey, when's our next Matt with Maddie? So hopefully that all goes according to plan, and that'll be next Tuesday. And that brings us a week out. If you are interested, we are going to be watching the first 4 episodes of Power Rangers Operation Overdrive over in the Discord for members and patrons. So that'll be just a few minutes after we get off of this show. I'll hop over there and we'll watch that. If that doesn't interest you, then feel free to skip. That's fine. But yeah, that's it for us. We'll be starting a new video next time. I hope everyone stays safe out there. Have a wonderful rest of your day, night, evening, morning. I don't know where you live. So yeah, we'll get out of here. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Hovind, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Ella Runteller, Horseflesh, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostock Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babdy, Wallace, John Ackerman, and Strawberry Vein. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.